Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
Right, if you just joined us, it's still Enterprise Friday. Now to our main conversation. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, on Thursday insisted that 26 Rivers House of Assembly lawmakers who dumped the party for All Progressive Congress APC were no longer members of the state legislature. The PDP National Legal Advisor, Adeyemi Ajibade, SAN, told the news agency of Nigeria shortly after Justice Donatus Okorowo of the Federal High Court Abuja adjourned the embattled lawmakers' suit until 24 January 2024. Ajibade said, though President Bola Tinubu might have intervened in the dispute between Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, who is the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, the party stood on what the Constitution says on defection. According to the senior lawyer, aside from that, the Constitution of the country is very clear. Citing Section 1091G, he said, that the affected lawmakers have not denied that they had not defected. My guest, Elvis Elimihele, journalist and public affairs analyst. Thank you, sir, for being part of our show. Thank you so very much. And Emeka Madunago, public affairs analyst. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you very much
for having us. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest, news story in Nigeria as concerns Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara and Nyesom Wike, and now we're having Bola Ahmed Tinubu being part of the tripod. But I'd love us to talk more about what the Constitution says, as it was, said on Section 1091G, where it is clear on the issues of defection. I'd love us to talk about that. Let me start with you, Ms. Emeka.
Yes. The Constitution is clear that it's the political party that sponsors the candidate. It's also the political party that harvests the victory. In other words, the political party controls the mandate. And so, if for any reason the candidate has to dump that mandate to seek refuge in another party, then of course that candidate cannot, under any circumstance, transfer it to another platform. It's so simple. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot put nothing on nothing. So if you don't own a mandate, you cannot move from PDP to APC and say you are still retaining what doesn't belong to you. So it is so clear. Now I wonder what the intendment of the Federal High Court, with due respect to it, is in terms of helping these defectors to preserve their false hopes. They have moved, and so they should just simply give. Their seats remain vacant. Thankfully, the interim orders are not permanent orders. So just in the first instance for a certain period, 90 days, and then just roll it over. Then by January 24, the court will have to look at the substantive matter. So helping them with interim injunctions is just prolonging their agony.
Now, if you don't mind, can you give us a backstory, to where or situations where we had issues like this and how it played out? Was it respected? Because of course we've had issues where there were defections, governors defected to other parties and all of that. Give us a backstory of where we had similar issues and if, as at the time, it stood.
Well, the most celebrated issue is that of Johnson Abegunde of the Labour Party, who was representing Akure North-South in the House of Representatives. And he defected from the Labour Party to the All Progressives Congress. And at the end of the day, the Labour Party sought to recover its mandate. And the matter went right up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled indeed that the party is the party that sponsors the candidate, and that Abegunde should refund all the salaries and allowances he earned as a lawmaker with the mandate of the Labour Party. Well, did he comply with that or not? I want to believe he complied with it. But the point to be noted here is that that was a decided case.
Okay.
We also had the issue of, if you look by Rotimi Amechi, about who owns the mandate. So it is as clear as ABC. There have been also other issues, other decided cases around the recent elections, the 2023 election. Remember, the Electoral Act was last amended in 2022. So we've had such, and the issues were decided clearly. So it is no longer something in the realm of speculation. It is clear as daylight. So the Federal High Court cannot purport to upturn the verdict or the decided case of the Supreme Court, the apex court in Nigeria.
Now, let's talk about the intervention of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He has given a mandate. It was said as the CNC, he has come on board to intervene because, if he had allowed it, go forward, there would have been issues and violence, of course. So it is his right to intermediate. But the question is the influence of the president, knowing that he is coming from a party where the 26 lawmakers are defected to, and he is given a mandate to Siminalayi Fubara to ensure that these people reclaim their seats. How do you think this would pan, especially with what the PDP is saying right about now?
Well, I have to commend the chief mediation officer in Asoro. I think that's part of his job. As the president of Nigeria, we saw him mediating it out. We also saw him, dangling to the Ondo last time.
Yes, exactly.
But by right, he's just playing the role of an African traditional father. I don't want my children to be quarreling. That's just it. But constitutionally, which he swore to, that mediation holds no water, because the Constitution is the grand norm, and it has to be adhered to by every Nigerian, especially those of them who are even, working with the Constitution daily. If he swore with the Constitution to uphold to every tenet of the Constitution. So if the Constitution has outlined that by the time you defect from one party to another, on the ground that the party you are defecting from does not have any crisis, that you are losing your seat. So I don't see any mediation that is coming from the president, like, imposing it on Siminalayi Fubara that the defected lawmakers should still. Under which party are they going to be sitting as we sit now, Henry? Is it still PDP or APC? So they are hanging. They don't even, as we speak, they don't have a party until another election is conducted. They are going to go through primaries.
Yes, exactly. Go through the wards and all of that.
If their constituency even allow them to get the ticket again, that's still an issue. So the president should stay off from this unless the Constitution takes its role as it is interpreted. He has an attorney general who should be able to guide him with the laws of Nigeria. So coming in, supposing it happens to them in APC,
would they have accepted that?
Let's view it from that parameter. If it was APC that defected to PDP, how would he have taken it?
True.
So we should not begin to rub Peter to pay Paul in this matter. We should speak it the way it is. The president should leave Rivers for the Rivers people to take control of their governance. He was elected as president of Nigeria the same way Siminalayi Fubara was elected as the executive governor of Rivers State. And all the defected lawmakers were elected from their various constituencies. Now that they feel that the party that brought them, the party whose logo the electorate voted, these lawmakers' picture were not in the logo. Their names were not in the logo. They voted the party's logo. And now you feel that party is not good enough. You want to take refuge somewhere else. Then you should do the needful. So I think the president should wash off his hand and let the constitution take its
Emeka, let's look on the tendencies of Siminalayi Fubara. Just like Mr. Elvis had said, leave rivers for rivers people. And now it seems to Nigerians that Siminalayi Fubara is playing to the gallery of those in authority and not respecting the wishes of the people. Now we understand that these lawmakers are anti his government. How do you think that would pan out? Do you think we hope to see a synergy going forward?
You see, there cannot be synergy in illegality. Like I said earlier, you cannot put nothing on nothing. The 8-point agreement, the purported 8-point resolutions are just empty air. Because you can see clearly that they were drawn up by the weakest camp and given to Tinubu, who may have even been in a hurry to a meeting, or maybe in a hurry to travel out of the country. So I don't even think he gave it a real thought, because you can see the wordings. Number 2 said that Governor Siminalayi Fubara should. The other said shall. The other point said shall.
So what's the difference?
So yeah, the difference is that you are presupposing that he has a bounding duty to respect that resolution. Should. As if you are passing down an order. Then shall. Well, there's a conditionality in it. So the point is this. You are conferring on usurpers of their own mandate. You are conferring on them some form of legality, which is illegal in itself. One. Secondly, there's the doctrine of separation of powers, which is in operation in Nigeria. Siminalayi Fubara is the head of the executive branch in Rivers State. There is the legislative branch, there is the judicial branch. So to expect that Fubara will, that Fubara should, like it was mischievously worded, that Fubara should ensure that Amewule will return as the Speaker of the House of Assembly when a court has declared Edison Ehie as the Speaker, consequent upon the willful defection of those 27 errant lawmakers. Then it just lets you know clearly the level of brigandage that some of our politicians are willing to engage in. I must let you know something. Look at the Ondo case. Yes, the governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, has passed on. May he so rest in peace. But there's, and then Lucky Aiyedatiwa, who was his deputy and later became the acting governor, has been sworn in. But there's one issue that's hanging that nobody is talking about.
And what is it?
He wrote an undated resignation letter. It was part of the resolutions which President Bola Tinubu imposed on him. And he said the letter should be submitted to the Speaker of the State House of Assembly. It was on that basis that the Speaker and some other members of the APC were just jumping about. Even though, you see, the President said, okay, write and sign an undated resignation letter. Then at the same time, okay, you assume office as acting governor. So, it was left hanging. The other side were waiting for him to bring the letter so that they could activate it and use it to get him removed, to get him impeached.
Okay.
But thankfully, the courts did not allow that to pass.
Okay.
So the president had to call a second meeting where he lambasted all the dramatists personnel involved in trying to frustrate Aiyedatiwa's emergence as the acting governor. Now, he has been sworn in as governor, but that undated resignation letter is still there.
So what's the consequences of that?
Now, the consequence is that anything is possible. Remember the case of Chris Ngige and Chris Oba in Anambra State. If you go back, if you remember, that there was an agreement that if you didn't do this and this and this, you will resign. Remember when Obasanjo, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was president, that he said that his ministers had been asked to submit undated resignation letters. So the question I want to ask is, how many operatives at federal and state levels in this country today have not submitted such letters? In the event that the Ondo State House of Assembly decides to activate that letter, will it have any effect? Because yes, letter of resignation as acting governor. Now you might say that he has moved from acting governor to governor.
Does
Let
that
me
stand?
tell you, Nigerian politicians are adept at, showing the left hand, whereas they are working with the right hand, as in being ambidextrous. So that is why I say that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should face the huge task, the onerous task of running the nation. He should mind his business. Nobody gave him that mandate of mediation. And by the way, these are two different parties. The unfortunate thing is that the acting national chairman of PDP, Umar Dabago, it appears that office is bigger than him. So he cannot courageously discharge his duties as the national chairman of the PDP. That is why he left a governor elected on the platform
to even attend that,
to be humiliated. And he has said nothing. Umar Damago, if he cannot discharge the duty, he should resign immediately, because he is a huge obstacle to the progress of that party. He should resign, because there are even insinuations. The insinuation that he is in cahoots with Nyesom Wike, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. So he has to resign forthwith. I'm even surprised that the party has not called any NEC. The NEC has not met. The NWC of the party has not met. The National Caucus of the party has not met to ask Umar Damago what is going on. If the kitchen is too hot, why not get out of the kitchen? Now that is where the problem is.
Emeka, let's also remember that in that same river, the sitting ESCO of PDP, led by Emeka Beke, is in court because they were unjustly removed.
There's a faction there.
And planted Tony Okocha as a caretaker chairman in Rivers. That's still going on. And it was even this Tony Okocha that was with the president in the purported mediation. Why was Beke and all his ESCO not in that meeting? Even the national chairman of the PDP you just made mention of, why was he not in that resolution meeting? Knowing fully well that the governor that was summoned to Abuja for resolution is from his party.
If he had attended that meeting, he ought to have been removed by a simple resolution.
Even if he has attended that meeting, I think he would have been, if he really want to stand his ground as chairman of a political party, an opposition party for that matter, he's not supposed to even be. He's even a placeholder. He's a caretaker chairman. He was not even elected. He was not even elected. He's a placeholder. So it's unfortunate that, you see, the party that once prided itself as the biggest political party in Africa, the PDP, has gone to the dogs. The PDP is no longer able to hold his house, put his house in order. He's no longer even able. Now it has become opposition. He cannot even maintain the position of that position, that responsibility. And now you see the only clear opposition in Nigeria is the media
and
Labour to some extent. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, you see him responding. Where is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who was the presidential candidate of PDP? He has gone quiet. Meanwhile, his media aide Daniel Bwala is just going from one media house to the other, trying to confuse issues. What sort of people are this? What sort of people are this? What sort of politicians are this? Are they taking Nigerians for a ride? After all, Atiku Abubakar was advised to step down for Peter Obi, which would have made the 2023 presidential election a strictly southern affair. But he insisted on running. And then at the end of the day, he just put up a half-hearted, challenge to Bola Tinubu's declaration of Bola Tinubu as the winner of the presidential election. Since then, Atiku Abubakar has disappeared.
Has gone cold.
He has disappeared. And then what do we have? Do we still have an opposition? So that is why even the PDP that said it will be in power for 60 to 100 years has even disappeared, virtually disappeared. And it's a shame. The party must rescue itself. The same thing that happened in 2016, where the party was almost sold to the APC by some governors, must not be allowed to repeat itself.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move to the next topic, gentlemen. The federal government has proposed 210.6 million naira for the prosecution of Boko Haram cases in the year 2024. The figure is a remarkable reduction in the allocation for prosecuting suspected terrorists despite a backlog of terrorism cases in the 2 previous years. The allocation is contained in the first full-year budget proposal of President Bola Tinubu's administration and is significantly lower than the amount allocated in the 2022 and 2023 appropriation of the immediate past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. In 2022, the government voted 500 million naira for the mass prosecution of suspected members of the terrorist group who had been incarcerated at military detention facilities over the years. The special arrangement was first adopted in September 2017 to fast-track the prosecution of the suspects in year-long detention and avoid the burden of heavy logistical problems that moving the suspect to regular courts around the country would have caused in the outgoing year. The government similarly appropriated 500 million for the trial of Boko Haram cases, but the mass trial did not take place. The government has rather continued pursuing individual cases scattered in different divisions of the Federal High Court around the country. On December 4, the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, led a team of prosecutors to the trial of some terrorism suspects in Abuja. Now, let's talk a bit about that. It's still a bit sketchy and at the same time confusing. Do we think in the first place we need such humongous kind of budget for prosecution of people whom the state have defined as terrorists in a country?
Well, the issue of trials of suspects is not a tea party. It's an expensive venture.
So it is
an expensive venture.
So it is supposed to be so.
Yes, but what I've always advocated is that government should adopt a multi-pronged approach to this issue of Boko Haram.
So when you say more multi-pronged, what
yes, what I mean is that, you see, there are different layers of suspects.
Okay.
There are those who are the head, the leaders, the commanders of the different Boko Haram cells.
Okay.
While there are those who are just maybe co-opted or conscripted or forced into the service of Boko Haram. So after debriefing them, if there are some whose cases are not so serious as to warrant going into full prosecution, what you can do is to rehabilitate them and then maybe possibly use them as prosecution witnesses. Even some of the commanders who may have had a change of mind, you can actually use them as prosecution suspects. Then, instead of engaging in a mass trial, which might lead to a mistrial and a miscarriage of justice, I think it is better to segment them using different remedies available under the law. But if you have to spend so much, if you have to spend so much on their prosecution, at the end of the day, yes, justice is served, but how do you ensure that it is not sustained? The Boko Haram war is not sustained. Because you must engage in massive de-radicalization. I said it from the outset when this sect started causing this problem in 2002. I said it then, that one major problem is the radicalization of young people.
So how do you start that in the first place, knowing the issues in the north, the predominant issues of lack of education in the north? How do you de-radicalize them when education is not there for them to embrace?
Eric, it starts from there. First of all, the government, federal government and the northern state governors should get these children out of street so that these children will be able to know what Boko Haram actually means. Because what they are selling to them is different from what they know about Boko Haram. They are telling them that they are fighting a just war.
Okay.
And you know, because they don't know their left from right, whatever they are told, they buy into it. By the time you, like he has said, you know, let's find a way to streamline it. Remove those who are like conscript into it forcefully, who out of ignorance. If you are able to keep those ones somewhere and rehabilitate them, they will be able to speak truth that this is not exactly what we heard when they called us. And those ones can be managed and be rehabilitated and brought into the society and empowered to be useful. But for those that actually started this, that feel that, no, this is their right and they want to use it to, bring crisis and untold hardship to Nigerians, those ones can be tried. No amount of money is too small to be tried, to be used
for the trial
of these people.
Okay.
Because look at what just happened in Plateau. Nobody is happy. We don't know what is going to happen next. We've just heard that they are starting writing letters to communities. If we don't try and prosecute these people and send them to jail or whatever, it will not even serve as deterrent to those that are still, planning these nefarious activities against Nigerians. So that trial is important. So if President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is actually interested in, bringing this terrorism to a halt, he has to look at that budget. Because, in the laws that even when you are arrested, you are caught red-handed as a thief or whatever, you are not a criminal yet until you are proven guilty by the law court. So even as they are there in detention, they are just being fed. They've not been prosecuted and judged as expected. So Nigerians, they are still presumed innocent. So the law has to take its course. And when that is done, then those that are jailed, we know that they are serving a jail sentence for the offense they committed. It will also serve as, message and warning to those that are still carrying out these activities behind. So they have to look into that budget. Because moving logistics... So
you mean the budget should be increased it should remain the way it is?
No, it should be increased so that it can serve its purpose. Logistics. Like, do you know what it means to move these high-handed people from one location to another? The security that will be involved. We have heard even governor's convoy, being attacked these days. So when you are moving these people, you move them discreetly. And the venue, do you know what it will make to fortify the venue? Judges are going to be brought in. Their life must have to be safeguarded. So all these are issues that we have to look at. These people will not just arrive in the venue today and begin and get into the court today. They have to be in a hotel or whatever somewhere, to prepare and brought in. And they're going to be brought in a style that even when they are leaving, the people who brought them in will not, should not be part of those that will sell their information to them. They have a family to protect.
True.
So they have to. So this is where the money is going to be channeled. Security is important.
Now, lastly, Mecca, we cannot remove major stakeholders in all of these issues, and some of the major stakeholders are opinion leaders, the chiefs, the emirs, the sultans, and so on and so forth. But the worry thing there is most of them are calling for amnesty for these people. Do you think amnesty is a reduced form of serving justice, so we can at least waive all of this budget thing and possibly use it for some of the more important things?
You can only give amnesty to people who have repented, people who have shown an inclination and publicly accepted to renounce their violent extremism. You do not give amnesty to people who are still in the active business of putting the society in disarray, killing people, destroying government facilities. You do not consider an amnesty for such people because at the end of the day, they'll just see it as an incentive to continue with their criminal activities. So the reason cited, for the stalled fourth, the fourth segment of trial is insecurity in Niger State. But the other parts of the country where these suspects can be moved to and tried, you have other military facilities. You have in Abuja, you have in Lagos, you have in other places where they can be quickly tried and given necessary justice. Now, I go to the other, a related point of, look at the killings in Plateau and Benue, clearly by pastoralists. The people doing these things are well known. But the other thing is that right behind, you go on social media, you see people who are justifying these killings. And then you now wonder, why isn't any attempt being made by security agencies to take down the accounts? Rather, there is somebody who has been condemning these killings. On his Instagram account has been blocked by Facebook, by Meta, because he condemned it. He's a foreigner, because he was condemning the killings. I find this to be duplicitous, because it now raises the specter that foreign interests may actually be interested in the sustenance of tension and destruction in Nigeria. Wow. So that must be looked into, because if somebody has been condemning killings in Nigeria, if foreigner has been condemning killings, he should be commended. He should be applauded. But when you block his account, what it shows is that those running Instagram have a hidden agenda. And I'm challenging them. I'm calling them out today that they must release his account. Because those people who are justifying those killings must be brought to book. They must be arrested and tried. So these are the different layers of criminality in Nigeria. Not just about the terrorists themselves, but there are those who serve as the errand boys of these terrorists, who serve, as their social media, as their social media influencers and all of that. They must be put in check.
Exactly. Now, just in a minute, can we in any way differentiate what is happening in the north from what is happening in the southeast? Is there ever the possibility of comparing that? Because violence is violence. The way it's happening in the north is the same way it's happening in the southeast of Nigeria, with agitation and all of that. I want to believe that lots of youths, even in the southeast, are still being arrested. But we don't talk about that. It's not coming to the front burner. What do you think should equally be done to people who are arrested falsely, or maybe they were accused of being part of agitation? How do you think we can marry what is happening in the north of Nigeria and in the southeast of Nigeria?
Well, yeah, violence is violence everywhere. And what I will employ the federal government to do is bring these people to justice, for trial, not just incarcerating them. Nobody is supporting violence in any part of Nigeria, whether in the north or in the south. Especially the one that we are seeing now in the southeast is very alarming too. So let's separate. If this is actually coming from IPOB, that's why we've discussed it, that if it is releasing Nnamdi Kanu, even on political ground, let him be released, so that the federal government will be able to know where the perpetration of these nefarious activities is coming from. Exactly. By that time, if Nnamdi Kanu is released, anybody found wanting in these crime activities will be picked up like and a criminal fully and be tried as a criminal and be jailed where necessary. I think that's what the federal government should be trying to do at this time. Exactly. Let's try to see how we can make peace with Nnamdi Kanu and every other person that are connected with him. If that one works, then we cannot declare the other ones as criminals. Exactly.
Very, very true. Of course, just like we all know, we can never have a country that's prosperous without a peace in the country. Violence is never the best thing. We want a Nigeria where every Nigerian will be safe wherever they find themselves. I'd love to say a big thank you to Emeka Madunagu for being part of our show today, and Mr. Elvis Elimihele. Thank you so very much for being part of our show today. And to you, our audience and viewers, I'd love to say a big thank you for always making yourself available on our show. Thank you so very, very much. But please do remember to like, follow, and comment on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Igwebike. I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.